Hello, it's Jeremy Webb. I'm the artistic director of Neptune Theatre. It's week 212, day something, and it's Tuesday, May the 12th. It's Tuesday, May the 12th, everyone. I hope you're well. It's good to see you. Off the Leash is our way of staying in touch at Neptune Theatre with you, our audience, our friends, our colleagues, our subscribers, donors, whoever wants to watch, and we have a little bit of fun along the way. This is episode 26, which is strange if you think I thought this was going to be a couple of episodes at the very beginning, and here we still are. Tonight I am joined by three amazing artists who work or have worked and will work again behind the scenes of Neptune Theatre to help make the magic that we create. I love their work, and I've enjoyed working with all three of them over the years. And I love looking at what they do and how they do it. It's really exciting. And as the artistic director and therefore director of shows, sometimes they get to challenge their skills, and they've always risen to it. So without further ado, let's bring them into the live stream. I'm using a different computer tonight, so I'm a little finger and thummy, but let's see if I can bring them all in. Here they come. We have Cassie, Seaboyer, Vickie, Marston, and Cull. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, look at that. It's good to see your faces.
Yours too.
Thank you. Thank you. First off, how are you all doing? Just let everyone know where you are and how you're hanging in. Cassie?
I'm currently at my apartment in Halifax, but most of the time I'm spending time at my parents' place South Shore in Shelburne, where I grew up. And I'm up here for a couple days, and it's been nice.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, actually, I was looking out your window going, I wonder, when we were talking before the show, I was like, can I work out where you are? I wanted to mention it on it. What street is that? Andrew, you have a wall behind you that well, in fact, you all do. You all have creative walls behind you. Andrew, yours looks like the wall I imagined you would have.
Yeah, it's just I channel the set designer John Dinning, and
Yeah.
Cheers, John Dinning.
Yeah, cheers to John Dinning. If it isn't, if it isn't him or Patrick Clark that I'm copying, then it isn't worth copying, probably. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing well? You're doing okay?
Oh yeah, we're busy. We're busy. We're homeschooling now, the three little kids. So it's busy enough to not know how crazy you're going. Yeah.
I actually thought about you the other day. I think we were on a meeting together, and we have two kids at home, and that's enough. And then I looked at you and went, oh wait, he has three. And he looks so much calmer than I am, but maybe you're just a better actor than I am as well.
You have to do all the talking. That's the difference.
Yeah.
I can just kind of sit back and give wry looks most of the time.
or just have some glasses with fake eyeballs on and just sleep.
Yeah, that's we built those years ago down in the top.
Yeah, for every single staff meeting that I run, I know.
I'm wearing them right now. They're being controlled remotely.
I wouldn't put it past any one of the three of you. Hi, Vickie.
Hello.
How are you? Where are you?
I'm fine. I'm in Gasbro, down in the valley.
Yeah.
Hanging out in my studio.
Nice.
Trying to find things to do.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And I don't have any kids. I've got a 86-year-old deaf mother downstairs, and the TV's so loud right now. I'm just wondering if anybody else hears it.
Let's look.
But no.
No, we're okay.
Yeah, we're all right. We're good. We're doing fine.
Awesome. So folks that are watching tonight, at any point, you can ask our guests a question. Whether or not they tell you anything is another matter, and that's up to them. But if you want to know about the world of props and what it means and how it all happens, that would be fantastic. Before we begin, Andrew Crawford just wants to say, hey, guys.
Hi, Andrew.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Cool. So that's how it works. Send in a message if you're on Facebook, and it may be a broadcast. If you don't want it broadcast, don't. But feel free to ask a question. So, Andrew, you are officially your title is head of props. Is that correct?
Yeah, head of the properties department. Exactly.
The properties department. All right.
Yep. Yeah.
And I guess what I want folks to try and come out of this understanding is what you all do, because I've got a whole bunch of photos here that I might throw up during the course of this interview, some of which are pretty bizarre and strange. I kind of feel like the props department is really where the bizarre stuff happens. That's my
Sort of.
yeah.
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 You know, you have to realize some pretty unusual things. Vickie, could you start by letting us know how the props department of any theater kind of works in the process? Are you when do you come on board, and what is the first thing you do when you pick up a script and you say, "Oh, we're doing this play now"?
I read that script, and you probably read it about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And make a few lists, and then you wait for your first or second production meeting, or you've talked to your director and your designers,
Right.
and you make more lists. At least that's the way I'd work.
Yeah.
And from there, you figure out what and who is going to build in the shop. Different types of not everybody's got all these skills,
Right.
so some people are better at some things. So between the whole prop shop, you figure out who's building what and go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at Neptune, for example, Andrew, on a bigger show, say maybe one of the big season closing musicals, how many people do you have working with you generally?
We'll swell up to about 5.
Yeah.
And then day to day, it might be 7 or 8 on a day here or there.
Right.
When, if we've got on Peter Pan, if we've got 4 people painting the crocodile and some casual labor upstairs helping building the net for the Lost Boys. And then sometimes we might even because of the fantastic film crew that still remains here in this city,
Yeah.
Shopping out jobs to independent artists is sometimes the way we go. Normally, we like to do it in-house, but if we're swamped, there are fantastic people in the business to help us out locally.
Amazing. The photos I was just scrolling through there were, of course, of the crocodile that we ended up using in Peter Pan. Do you want to just tell us the story of the development of that? And I know Cassie worked on that.
Well, the crocodiles, Neptune subscribers and people who are fans of our musicals might recognize facets of the crocodile. And I give you, there's a crocodile before his transformation. You can see it when there's Eva Quo and I and a bunch of other people made Dragon, the 4-person puppet for Shrek.
Right.
And there's the original sketch and the model for Dragon. And Dragon we kept for a long time. Dragon went out to do other Shreks around Canada and sang and performed. And then we were able to, the designer of Peter Pan, Tamara-Lee Kucherin, was able to see the beginnings of a crocodile for Peter Pan in the body or in some of the parts of Dragon here. And so you can see how there's props builder Tim Andrews is piloting our prototype prop. And also putting some scaling the croc there, and that was a big
project.
Sorry,
this was quite a big project.
It was, even as a retrofit, even as something we were sort of reusing. There were a lot of, it's a lot of. There's Cassie painting it, and the paint job came out so nicely.
Yeah.
It was the result of. It was a result of a lot of hard work by really talented artists and artisans.
it was incredible. And, you know, as the director of that show, I write something in the script. As the writer of that show, I write something in the script like a giant 14-foot crocodile crosses the stage, and then I don't give it another thought. In fact, usually what I do is I have a sip of wine after writing something like that. And I say, good luck. And I don't think about it again, unless I'm then directing the play, and then I'm like, oh, how are we going to do, or producing, and then how are we going to do that? And then
lately, in fact, Jeremy, you've gone one step further and started writing us into the script.
I have.
We've seen some of those scripts, and here's where Cassie Seaboyer does some magic.
Yeah,
and we'll see it on the day.
Yeah, I actually I do that. I do that. I was like, oh, good luck with this, Andrew. Ha ha. Sorry, it's only 18 seconds of stage time.
Cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. Vickie, when I'm going to get to Cassie in a second, because I also want to talk about a lot of the work that you all do extraneous to Neptune, but you used to be at Neptune full-time.
I was head of props.
You were head of props too. So I got two, a former and a current head of props.
Yeah, and I never had the crew.
No?
There was usually two of us to do all that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, and we would rope in whoever we could from the rest of the shops. I can remember when we worked on Grease, everybody was working on the car and stuff like that. So, and the same with Little Shop, I think. There was a bunch. There was like three of us that time. So
3 of you do Little Shop. Crazy.
3 of us doing Little Shop, yeah.
With a giant man-eating plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Neptune, when Neptune did Little Shop, was that a rented piece, or did Neptune make their own?
We made our own.
Yeah,
all of them.
Oh my goodness.
Where is it?
The first show I worked on there, actually. So.
Where is it? Andrew wants to know.
Where is it? I have no idea where it's gone. It got shipped out to Edmonton, I think.
Yeah.
And then we never saw it again.
I got to see the Stratford Little Shop a year or so ago, and I got a little. They were very nice and let me poke around backstage before the show, and I was looking at their plant, and then in considering doing it at some point in the future, I said, so if ever I wanted to, can I rent it? And they said sure, and then they emailed me a week later and said, we've been thinking about this. It's too heavy. Like it was built in situ. It was a 4 or 5 person operation with monitors inside and hydraulics, and it was very cool. Very cool. So, Vickie, if you don't mind, you don't have to put exact dates on it, but when were you at Neptune? Because I remember you there, of course. So was that?
I haven't a clue, honestly, anymore.
Back then.
It's been like.
And now it's
maybe in the 90s.
The 90s.
Well, I was there like for Les Mis.
Yep, 94.
And, I was there for all of Linda Moore's. While she was there, so whenever she left was when I left.
Right. Okay.
And then I went off to Centaur. So.
Okay. Sweet.
So that's where and then I left Centaur, and I've been teaching props.
Cool. Yeah, and where are you teaching?
I teach at Grenfell. It's Memorial's satellite campus in Cornbrook.
If there are any vegetarians?
Yeah, no vegetarians allowed.
Look at that. I love that.
Building the steak for shoplifters.
I just want to do the lean out there.
Gotta remember to go the other way.
Yeah. When I saw that photo earlier today, I thought I should bring on a real steak. I don't have any steak, but I thought if I had a steak, I would show the two and say, "See, can you spot the difference?"
That was a little roast. That one turned into. That's what I finally said.
Yeah.
They said a 2-inch steak or something. Okay, fine.
These pieces of work of yours freaked me out.
Oh, my dead babies.
Yeah, the deceased babies.
My dead babies. Yeah. They freak everybody out. Especially when you go into the box in storage and find them.
Yeah.
They're all there. The dead orphans is what I call them. But yeah. So they were all made from I made a mold, or I sculpted a face and then made a mold, and they're all the same face, but just kind of distort it.
Wow.
So yeah.
So Cassie, let me just ask Cassie a question, bring her in. Cassie, how did you get into this world? What was your path that led you here?
Originally I moved to Halifax almost 8 years ago now to study at NASCAD University. And what's kind of interesting, I went there originally to be a tattoo artist, and that was what my mind was set on. And within the first few months, I realized I hated drawing and painting, which is kind of a big problem when you want to be a tattoo artist.
Right.
So from there, though, I started experimenting with clay. And once I started to figure out that I'd much rather work 3D versus 2D, that's kind of when things started changing, like the gears started turning. And I also ended up going to HalCon in 2013 for the first time.
Right.
So when I saw the costumes and all the creativity behind them, I thought, how can I make costumes like this kind of into a living? What is the job for this? And growing up in a small town, I never thought that, theater and film were the answer.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in my third year, I got involved with a professor by the name of Jeffrey Dom, and he had connections to a man named Terry Angus that worked for Jim Henson.
Oh yeah.
And the pieces just kind of started falling in place. I started to realize theater and film was the path to go, and it's honestly a lot of being in the right place at the right time. And I just started making more costume puppets for HalCon. That was a really fun puppet. And yeah, then ended up at Neptune.
Yeah, I just want to show this other HalCon related or cosplay, and then this next photo, folks, is if you have a delicate tummy, don't look away for a second. But it's pretty gruesome, but pretty impressive. Was that for a film? That was
a fun one.
Yeah.
That was for a film. That was for the series called Future Man, produced by Seth Rogen. We had to build a 10-foot dead bear.
Wow.
Who? I have. Is that you or is that a model? That's a person you did.
She's gone.
She's gone.
And it had to be dead. Really cool people. Just kind of a black bear. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're a little delayed there, Cassie. I might get you to read.
Oh yeah, that is me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. So you're a little delayed. I'll get you to reboot and keep talking to the other two just to refresh your internet there. I have a couple of messages. This is from Christine updating us. The Little Chop was famous, apparently. Here's a nice one from Hannah Burrows. What's the most fun prop you've ever built? What was the one where you go, yeah, that was it?
Talking fish. She'll know what I mean.
Which one? Say again?
I had to build a talking fish for a show in Parsboro. Hannah was actually the manipulator because it was all animatronic.
Right.
And she was backstage manipulating all the gears or the levers and things to make it talk with Richard Donut's voice.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's kind of fun. It's one of my favorite props. Yeah.
Andrew, do you have a one that stands out for you? There's been a few thousand annually probably, but
there's been so many, and I rarely these days. It's the opposite curse that Vickie had. Instead of doing everything, I get to do less and less. I normally these days I'm lucky if I can kind of grab onto one prop and get to build that during those big shows, which is fine. I did have a lot of fun making Kelly Holliff's detachable hook.
Oh,
her spring-footed hook.
Yeah,
that was so slick. That was a really nice prop.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that is something that was that written into the script, or was that something that we came up with in rehearsal and then you ran with it? Or was it an idea in a meeting? I can't recall.
I think we did it it was in a production meeting because I definitely built it before you guys. I was able to give it to Kelly, I think, on first day.
Let's show people what we're talking about. I got a little video here. Hold on.
Okay. microphone, Vickie. I don't know if you saw that.
I'm
It
sorry, what?
that one also had I made a microphone attachment to that.
Right.
So you were the silliest, most over the top Celine Dion. What was the song, Jeremy?
If you touch me like this, if you hold me like that, I don't know.
The Flex. Yeah.
You get hooked.
Yeah, well, and you know, the show was originally titled Peter Pan Get Hooked, and so there was a focus on the hook character, and we then ended up using the Get Hooked term as the slogan for the whole season. So I had to ditch it, but I do remember. So I do remember the guilt I felt when I saw that beautiful fork piece go in when I cut that moment, because it's one of those things. And I want to ask you about that, the three of you, whether, you know, having props cut after you've put so much, I mean, it must be awful. We obviously then kept the microphone attachment, which was, I think, the show stealing moment.
It was so funny to watch because I also work as an usher, so it's really cool to see something that Andrew put a lot of work into get such a wonderful reaction. And it kind of took the audience a second to kind of figure out what she was doing, and then she just like, oh my gosh, and then everyone just started laughing,
singing into her own stump. I mean, nothing.
Those are the fun times.
It's funny you mentioned that, Jeremy, though, like when you're talking about Kelly's incredible performance, so like chewing the scenery off at the floor, right? Like just so good, so funny. It's funny, and it's like so great to see a prop used like that. And then I remember when we did Oliver, it's really neat how an actor elevates the work, right? And something like in Oliver, Rajon had a pipe with a piece of leather strapped around it, and it was I can't remember that character's name, but Bob, I think his name is
Bill Sykes.
Bill Sykes. He sings a song to his hitting stick, his weapon, his blackjack, and this dumb pipe that was wrapped around with a piece of leather became one of my favorite props for years because it was just so perfect and violent and cruel, and it just, sometimes you build something that's just so in the pocket that it's really satisfying.
The interesting thing as an actor for years is, especially when you're doing a run of a show that lasts more than a few days, and at Neptune, obviously, it's usually anywhere from 2 to 10 weeks, is how attached you get to your props. And how, so for years, I used the same props for my one-man version of Christmas Carol. And if there was a year where I couldn't rent them from Neptune and I had to have stand-in props, it freaked me out. I felt the show wasn't the same. So I'd have the same journal, the same ledger all the time. And this was a ledger that had actually been used in the 1998 production of Christmas Carol that I was in. And so I remembered and so that ledger became the play, along with the giant paper mache turkey that I, used to beg, steal, and borrow and rent from you for years. So props are kind of part of the performance for actors. So I think Cassie's right. I think it's very cool to see an actual visceral reaction from an audience.
It's also great too when an actor really wants to get into what that prop is.
Yeah.
And they learn to use it in a special way for themselves. It's like another character to them too.
Yeah.
So.
I think you're right. I mean, I remember another sort of audience reaction moment that is prop based is like when Martha Irving as the fairy godmother in Cinderella had her wings, and you guys built wings that grew through the show, and almost unnoticeably until the end of the show, and then suddenly they're lighting up. These are the things that make the magic for the people in the audience, I think, and for me as well. Has there ever been a prop that you resented, that you it just caused you so much pain and grief that you, I mean, and you probably achieved it and delivered it, but something that just gave you so much of a headache that you
I don't remember those ones.
No.
I don't. I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't remember those ones.
I kind of have a funny story. Oh, sorry. I mean, to go off. I kind of have a funny story from the first show I worked on at Neptune was Mamma Mia, when we still had Mary in the shop. And I remember for that production, it's kind of like my first taste of working in a theater for props. And, you know, it's like, okay, this is it. This is what my work's going to be. My life is going to be. It's going to be theater. Here we go. And we had the prop that was the scene for Dancing Queen, where the girls, they take the lamps off the bedside table and they dance around with them. So those lamps are actually these big flashlights. And I remember working on those with Mary, and this is my first time seeing notes coming in. And note came in like, get rid of the handle. The handle's in the way. It's like bothering the actors, et cetera, et cetera. So we cut the handles off. Awesome. And then we got them back, I think, 2 rehearsals later with a note saying, we can't hold them. They're too awkward to hold. We need a handle. I was like, okay, this is what I'm getting into. I had a moment of like, is this what props is like? And
for those people that that are watching that, you know, don't know what goes into putting a show together, can you explain the phenomenon of notes, as Cassie just mentioned? What are notes, and what do they mean to you when they come down that pipe?
For me, they're the communication that you get between rehearsal, because you can't be in rehearsal all the time. And I mean, we try to sometimes go in and see what's going on, but the stage manager will write up anything that the director or what's not really working well in the show, or what else they might need. And it comes into notes form, which is a page or a email. And it's just a list of all the things that need to be changed, or is working well, or can we try to fix this kind of thing. But and you read them and you go over them and you prioritize them, and then you go, okay, I'll leave that one for a while because it might change again, because after a while you know what's going to change and what's not going to change. And especially when you're just starting out, when you're some of us who've been doing it now for, I think I added it up, 37 years. Yeah, you kind of know you'll put it in rehearsal, and you have to make sure that they know it's a rehearsal prop and we are working on it. So
yeah,
that's where it works for me. That's what I teach the students too. It's like the same thing, you know.
I learned something a year and a half ago. Somebody let slip that they had a little plan to wait for me to ask for something 3 times before they start it, just in case they change their mind. So I learned this. I probably shouldn't have overheard it, and so I just asked for it. So I would say things like, I want a 9-foot wide glitter moon. I want a 9-foot wide glitter moon. I want a 9-foot wide glitter moon. There you go. That's my 3 times. Can I have it now, please? Terrible me. Andrew, I don't know whether I know that Hannah Burrows, who stage managed the play Pleasureville, is watching. I don't know whether she has the inclination or time to share via message. She gave some pretty legendary prop notes on the play Pleasureville, concerning some of the apparatus that was gathered for that play. Do you recall any of that stuff? Because that, Hannah, if you're watching, it was legendary. As AD, I think I see the daily notes even for plays I'm not directing, and that one was eyebrow raising. Do you have any recollection of that, Andrew?
Well, that was kind of fun. It was a fun thing because it was a thing that El Denny had written into the script. That the young woman who starts a sex shop and starts this, you know, what she thinks is a feminist revolution that focuses really heavily on the sort of classic yonic representation of pink and lots of pretty realistic genitalia representation, and the vibe of very pink, but also intentionally problematic when you start to get into the scene. And so it was important for Annie Valentina and the director and Wes Babcock, the set designer, that when we did those things, when we did those sort of yonic themed decorations or props, that they were that they were intentionally overdone,
Right.
because they're incorrect. They were sort of they had to be obviously non-inclusive to trans identities, or even in like non-white non-white or not other underrepresented communities or voices. So basically, a lot of vaginas, just a lot of big. And I remember we were just done. We were done, and Wes came down. There were hats. Those hats. My partner Laura knitted those pink hats. There were something like 14 or 15 of them in the show. They were littering the stage. There were tons of them, and that Wes came down one day and was like, "Okay, we just want one more thing, because we just need one of those pink hats, one of those pussy hats, and we just need it so big, like big enough to hold all the sex toys."
Right.
And I insisted I needed to see that in notes. I need to see that written down. I need a grown up in the room to tell me that that's going to happen.
I gotta say that you ask Hannah Burrows a question live on a live stream, hoping that she's watching.
What'd you say?
And she's come through. I'm gonna put actual notes to the department on
Here we go.
Here we go.
if you're a small child reading this, enjoy. The original pair of nipple clamps, silver with the bells, is working very well for everyone. A, phrasing, I know. B, we would like to have some extra pairs on hand. C, there should be one set on display and another set in its case that Rose takes when she buys them. There were lots of notes that I think Hannah just felt needed
It's
to
when
be.
those notes or those things disappear and they get put back into notes. We seem to have missed or misplaced a set of nipple clamps.
We lost our knitting dildo.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody has put it in their pocket and walked off with it.
I love notes. Notes are law to me. The notes are written contracts.
I want to
Exactly.
believe you.
Oh no, I really
No,
do.
it's
I really
true.
do.
I know you do.
If it's written down,
I often have conversations with stage managers or designers or people saying, please, great, absolutely, let's get that in notes, just so everybody knows. All the people who should be listening are all on the it's in the prop shop somewhere still, I think.
Yeah. So glad. So glad that and then you have a meeting at some point, like a show and tell with the director. And it's certainly how it's working now, Andrew. So, you'll ask to meet with me on a certain day. It's usually over at lunchtime. We're trying to cram a sandwich in the rehearsal break. But we are definitely wanting to give you our attention. And you basically, with the stage management, do a show and tell where I see every prop. And you want to tell me a little bit about that process and what that does at the last, because it's usually about a week or so before we hit the stage, roughly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great time. That's when we get all the useful information about how the thing we thought it was going to be used. When it hits you guys in the room, and you guys have all your fantastic creative ideas, and we realize that you're holding it upside down, and now we can see the back of it, and you're intentionally using it in a wrong and comical way, and so therefore it no longer needs to function as we thought it did. Those are I love those. I love anything those meetings. Anything? Oh, sardines!
Sardines.
Those were cool.
Mary Hartley built a lot of sardines. Yeah, there's the clay. There's the clay, the positive, and then we cast sardine after sardine because how many sardines? I think there were 127 or something in Noises Off.
Yeah.
And they all stepped on and tossed and
those
Yeah.
those sardines went all the way to Edmonton, and I worked with them again at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping they're getting sent back because I want some in my office as a souvenir.
Yeah.
Nice school on your wall.
Now, oh, this is a great photo to show some of the detail. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's the mailbox from the color purple. And then when it's detailed in, you've got little bits of grass and moss in the fake stage floorboards.
Pretty
people.
That's Tamara-Lee Coutrin's design for Color Purple. And yeah, that's really nice when you're working with someone who's got a great eye or mind for when to bleed reality and theatricality, and when to, when something just works or when something just sings on stage in a place that is between like, I don't know, representation and photocopy. It's nice to do that detail work.
Now, Vickie and Andrew, you both set design as well.
Yes, we do.
I know, because Neptune has reaped benefits. And in fact, what I didn't do was get a photo of your kitchen party set, Andrew. But folks that have seen the kitchen party at Neptune, Andrew designed that, and he's actually was in mid-design for the Rocky Horror Show when we got shut down back in March. So fingers crossed we get to see that design come to fruition. Vickie, I think this is one of yours. Is this under Milkwood?
That's under Milkwood.
That's one of my. Where was that production?
It was at school.
I didn't see it.
No, it was in Newfoundland, so you missed it.
Oh, was it? I love that piece. I love that show, and I love that set.
It was a beautiful little set. I loved it. Unfortunately, our director didn't use it like he was going to use it, I thought.
Right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That happens. They have their own version. But
And
yeah,
yes.
that is the vibrator machine for the vibrator play, or in the next room.
Right.
And yeah, and it's hard to find turn of the century vibrators nowadays. So we made
them. We have a theme developing tonight. I don't know.
What was that?
We seem to have a theme developing tonight.
Yeah, a lot of
it wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
We're nearly out of time. It goes so quickly. We've already been 40 minutes in. Cassie, where do you see this side of your career going? I mean, are you getting into set design as well, or more? What other avenues is your creativity taking you?
Oh, that's a hard question, because I feel like I like just doing a bit of everything. I love having flexibility to work with props. I've also been able to do a bit of wardrobe work, a bit of work with the carpenters. I love doing film work as well. Yeah. So I guess for me, I just would like to keep doing a little bit of everything. I love taking skills I've learned from film, applying them to theater. I love taking theater skills, applying them to teaching kids at, an art center. I love just sharing the knowledge to different jobs all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, as long as you keep working for us, that'd be great. That was a hint there, Andrew. Before we wrap up, I do want to show this, because the other day we had some of the running crew on the show, and we were sharing some work, and of course, when your photos arrived today, Andrew, from your department, it did feature a little more detail in what went into creating that mammoth task of the Cinderella carriage.
Oh, wow.
So here it is, step by step, as it then is in the paint booth there. Then it gets a coat. And then I thought I'd just play this again, because I love this video. It's only about 45 seconds long. So take a look at this. So that's where it was. I saw it in all those stages and got called down. There were many meetings lots of scratching heads and looking at how to make this thing and then how to make it fly, because the writer and director decided that he wanted this thing to leave the ground with pyrotechnics. This video. So you talk about, hold on, let me just get another picture. You talk about audience reaction. When that thing arrived on stage, it caused quite the emotional stir.
Mm-hmm.
It was aided by the performances around it and Leanne Vardy's lighting and the special effects and the music. But nonetheless, at the center of this theatrical moment is the work that your department, and with every moment, is the work that is done, the actual practical, touchable work. It must have been quite, and that one wasn't on stage for just 15 seconds. It was on stage for a number of minutes and then got to end the act. So that must have been pretty cool for everyone, I hope.
It was cool to see that one come to life. I didn't work on that one as much. That was a lot of Sean working on the carriage there.
Sean, yeah,
he did a wonderful job working on that too. And it was really interesting seeing it's made of a lot of foam. So we got to manipulate foam a lot to make the leaves and the vines and trying to figure out how to manipulate this material. But the carriage also stands out to me as something like I loved seeing it every night. I was an usher because I knew how it worked. I knew how much work went into it, and the reaction again was just so emotional to see how much the audience appreciated that prop and the whole scene that went with it. It was really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
The prop was so nice because it just actually framed Samantha and her song. And the final moment, like, it's a great prop and you can look at it, but the thing is, Patrick's design perfectly encapsulated and held Cinderella through her transformation and her, like, you know, rising, her, like, winning at the end of that act.
Yeah.
It all worked.
There was never a moment that, like, the carriage was overwhelming someone or someone was overwhelming the carriage. Everything just was perfectly balanced for that scene.
Which is why it's a great job.
I'm looking forward to also talking to the wardrobe department at some point, hopefully, if they'll agree to come on one of these shows to talk about their work in that sequence, because when you get all those elements together with dress transformations. So we've got a message here for you, Vickie. I want to see if I can find it. Oh.
Got it.
I seem to have lost. Oh, we're going so slow. All right, we seem to be losing the internet, so I'm going to wrap it up now and say thanks very much to my guest. I know I'm doing this. So thanks to Cassie, Andrew, and Vickie, and thanks to everyone for watching. And I will see you tomorrow with better internet.